Hi, this is Simon with Trade and Perform Coaching, going over the trade review for Tuesday, the 11th of March. So let's kind of jump right into it. It was a bit of a challenging day, and it was weird the way the day unfolded. So we gapped higher, and we essentially had what would appear to be an open drive lower. And it opened drove lower, and then it failed and reversed back up. So there's a couple things that I wanted to note out of that, and the first one was the drive up into this was Globex high right here, and here let me change the color on this really quick, and we just simply failed to penetrate behind Globex high, and we came in for test of the half gap, and we didn't quite get gap fill. And you see they responded by trying to bring it in and snap it up right away, and that failed pretty much right out of the gate. So that proceeded to bring us into a full gap fill. And you can see again, even though they traded past it, it's not uncommon to trade past and then rotate back up. The one thing that I would point out to people who had a difficult time with this open today was that there was not much space between the distance from the gap up and the gap fill. It happened relatively quickly. Also, what was a little difficult was that NQ is actually leading to the upside, and really a lot of people who've gotten very comfortable with buying out of the open when NQ is leading got smoked pretty severely. So if you look at what the trade plan was today, and I was pretty clear with it, right, was that my objective, the first trade was, and I marked this out in the market preview, was to get long the first touch of the white zone. And I said that I would be doing that before the market opened, and as soon as we came down into the white zone, the first touch easily yielded 2 points. I actually scaled this trade for 2 and then 3 and a quarter or 3.5, I forget at the moment. And then I was all done. Obviously I was a little premature on that exit. I was just kind of, personally, actually, I don't have a problem saying this. I was actually thrown by the strength of this downside move, and I was afraid that I was going to get caught in a trap. I guess afraid is a good word there. So I thought the best way for me to manage it was to quickly scale, and that's exactly what happened. But if you look, we actually had a trap here, and I failed to read that, so I'll put that as a negative mark and kind of mark that up on in my trading journal tonight. But you can see that we failed here and we closed below Globex low, but then we immediately recaptured it, and then they made another push down right at this is actually 9 a.m., 8 a.m. This is an hour behind. I have no idea what it's going to take to get this thing to update to the proper time, but that's why I hate downloading new software. At any rate, the point is this was 9 a.m. Central Time, 10 Eastern, and data came out. We pushed down a little bit after the data, right, back into the white zone, but we never penetrated the back of the white zone. And then, of course, we trapped this close right here, basically trapped late sellers below the white zone, and had a net effect of pushing back 2 Globex highs, and we pushed all the way back, actually, and we attempted to break Globex highs. And if you'll look, again, I'm always talking about the trap trade. This was the trap trade right here. We traded above. We closed back below. We failed to establish trade above this point where we could sustain higher, and it brought sellers in. And once it broke, we came into gap. We retested the white zone. And so there's a couple of things here that people need to be aware of. Time frame wise, this is actually almost 11:30 in the morning right here, 11:15. We're past the prime time for reversals. Also, there was a lot of news that was driving this. So what drove this move right here was news out of, if I'm correct, was news out of Russia with regards to some type of military maneuvers between the Ukraine and Russia, and that came out right after the open, and that kind of drove us lower, and it kind of set up a weird pace for the morning. And this was because this particular sell-off got started because copper was getting the living daylights beat out of it today. I think it was down 2% or something crazy like that. The push lower, right? And then we finally fell apart, and it never gave us a retest. The only place you could have taken a reasonable entry here would have been on the second push, and I consider this the second push into the zone. You could have taken a trade right at the back of the zone with a 2-point stop behind. Personally, I was hoping that we were going to get the area I was targeting to get a short out of was 1882 and 3/4 to 1884 and 3/4. It never developed. I didn't get the short there. The next area, as far as this is concerned, where I would have been able to pick up a clean trade, would have been the first touch of this zone. Again, remember, my entire trade plan is predicated on the first touch of the zone. So let me demonstrate for you. I would consider this a first touch of the zone. On the open, we traded up into the zone. This is the first touch of a zone, and this is the first touch of the zone. In addition, if you look down one more time, I want to be clear, right? We didn't have a zone at 1883, but had we touched this zone for the first time, I would have expected responsive buyers, and that's what we got after market. Was down here in this 1862 to 1860 area. So it'll be very interesting. We have an 1861 after hours. It'll be very interesting to see where we trade tomorrow in the morning, given some of the negative global markets, negative impact that the China news is having on global markets. I don't try to predict that kind of stuff. I just trade the trade and I trade the rotation size. Also, guys, particularly for my coaching clients, I want to emphasize again, look at the size of the rotations where we're getting bounces, right? Look at this first move into the zone. Look at the size of the rotation. Again, if we could have gotten down into this area, right? Look at the size of the rotation where we were looking for a potential reversal trade there. Back to the upside. All of this stuff matters. You have to put this all together in a cohesive package so that you can make money on a consistent basis. Look at the touches. First touch, right? Responsive buyers. Second touch, right? Second touch worked actually, and the stop would have kept you in, but just barely by a hair. And that's only if you went from the back of the zone. Did it give you a trade up to the front of the zone? You have to respect that which trade is going to give you the highest odds each time it comes into a particular area. I can't emphasize that enough, right? First touch, good rotation, time of day, all these things matter through the course of the day. Also, the other thing that was very critical when we got down here is NQ went from being a leader while we were in this area. If you'll go over and look in this time frame, which is Central Time, 11:30, all the way to 1 o'clock. NQ went from being a leader to being a follower. And, excuse me, that was an incorrect word, leader. A leader to the upside to a leader to the downside is what I meant to say. I'm a little bit tired, so please forgive me. At any rate, my conclusion is this, right? We failed we failed the Globex highs here on first test, right? We had responsive buyers the first time into the white zone. We had responsive buyers into Monday's low the first time. Easily yielding 2 point plus trades on each of these trades. I called out on Twitter to sidestep the second touch of this zone. That proved to be reasonable, given that it did break eventually. And then the other side of that was not taking the other side of the fade at the end of the day. You could have guesstimated that this was going to hold, but we could have easily just simply swept down to the 1861 at the end of the day. It's the little things you do that'll make you profitable as a trader, and it's very important. Stacking chips day by day, stacking consistent trades day by day. These are the things that'll make you go from a boom bust trader to a consistent stacker of chips, a consistently profitable trader, and a consistently a trader who has a relaxed mind. So anyways, I'm clearly out of practice on the trade reviews. I will get back to doing them on a regular basis. I'm using a bit of new software tonight. I'm hoping that proves to work well. Again, the zones on the very basic concept, and I want to emphasize this, right? The very basic concept, first time into the zone, provided a 2-point trade. First time into the zone, provided a 2-point trade. And once we got down into the zone, it did provide 2-point trade. It just happened well after hours. So I hope that helped everybody out. Oh, by the way, right here, even though we had no rotation, it was the first time into the zone, and it did provide a 2-point trade. So anyways, my name is Simon. I'm with Trade and Perform Coaching. This one was a little bit rough. I hope to get better as we go forward. I'm going to get the trade plan finished for tomorrow. I'm going to get this posted as quickly as possible. I hope everyone has a great night. We will talk to you all tomorrow.